Okay, welcome back to UFOs Above Us. All right, today we're going to talk about anomalies in historical sites or architectural sites. This one is Devil's Tower, and it became famous because it was used in a sci-fi called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And in that, Richard Dreyfuss actually made a model of that tower. And if you observe that tower used in the movie, there's a lot of unusual shapes that you might see in that tower. So that's the premise of this series I'm going to do, but it's on actually the Grand Canyon. I just got back from a trip there, and I'm going to study pictures that I've taken over the next series of weeks and look at some of those anomalies that I observed. So sit back and enjoy. Feel free to comment, subscribe, and like. Okay, so let's take a look at the first picture in the series that I'm going to study. And this picture is just a small fraction of what I've taken pictures-wise of the Grand Canyon. And I'm going to share my opinions. And by the way, the kind of the motivation for me doing this series, because I've usually focused on either UFOs in the skies or moon anomalies, but there is a YouTuber named Roger at KC or Kansas City, and he's done this for years, and I've watched his channel for years, and I really enjoy the work he puts into it. So, and I've seen many of the things that he's seen, but I decided now's the time. I'm just comfortable enough to go ahead and share them and let the chips fall wherever they may, so to speak. So if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to give, feel free to. Let's get started. All right, so we're going to focus on this upper rock outcrop on this mountain here in Grand Canyon. And we'll just look at this. The first thing I'll point out is, isn't it interesting how you've got these, to me, what they look like is retaining walls. If I were designing this complex, it's in a beautifully guarded position at the top of a mountain. And then it has these layer upon layer of retaining walls, big retaining walls. We're not talking about, just little 6-foot privacy fence, but dozens of feet high. What a perfect defensive position if I were designing this and I had the technology to move massive squares similar to what we see in Egypt. So if we look at this rocky outcrop, I'm just going to point out a few of the things. We're not going to make this go super long because I'll do many of these. But some of the things that do not look naturally occurring, obviously the whole area does not to me. You've got a retaining wall. It's working effectively to catch all this loose material. Another retaining wall. This is actually a double layer here. Got more here. And then you've got this, rocky outcrop, but the outcrop has a lot of unusual features on it that don't look naturally occurring. And the first one's right here at the point. And again, I don't have a good angle on this, but if you look at that, you might see something interesting. And again, I'm not going to try to lead y'all and tell you specifics on what I see, but I'm going to point out things that are unusual and let you draw your own conclusions. So right here at the kind of the peak of this area, I see something carved there that does not look just naturally occurring. It looks man-made or purposely designed. And it has a specific look to me. I'm going to zoom way in. I know it gets pixelated, but just so you can take a really close look at it, that looks like something to me. And you have to picture it as being a side profile of whatever that is. So that's the first thing I wanted to point out, but it's certainly not the only one. So we're going to look at many things. And one kind of general comment I'm going to make here at the top of this is, as you look at these structures, one thing you're going to see is a lot of greenery growing up here. And I'm not discounting it because it could be trees. Some of them actually I think are trees, but some of them I do not think are trees. I actually think they are some type of camouflage. And the reason for that will become clearer as we go over time and time again, where underneath the things that have those quote unquote trees growing, you see unusual objects. So let's go ahead and look at this very top of it. And again, you're going to see some things here. Are they trees? Or what are these blobs of, it looks more gray than green. This is more like a tree color, even though I don't think it's a tree. I think that's camouflage as well. But look at these gray blobs at the top. One there, one there, one there, one there. Something right here that doesn't look normal. And then one down here. And then look underneath all of them and you may notice something interesting. And I'm just going to point out that most of them are going to have two somethings. There's 1, 2, Look at this one. We got 1, 2. Look at this one. We've got 1, 2. So that's an unusual feature. And that's all I'll say about that is it's an 1, 2. And then I want you to notice this wall right here. You've got a lot of regolith, or I'm so used to talking about the moon. You got a lot of dirt and debris here, and you can see how it curves down, but then you got this big wall jutting up. I don't believe that's naturally occurring at all. If this were, and I'm just theorizing, if this were a structure, castle, whatever you want to call it, civilization, this looks purpose-built. And it's convenient because it's very difficult to make out if you're just looking at it at low magnification from the rim of the Grand Canyon. But because I can zoom way in, I'm seeing things that most people don't have a chance to see, and I'm just sharing those with you. So I believe this is a wall to some kind of a fortification, and I believe it even has windows periodically built into it. And then there's an object here, I don't know what it is, but you can see a column here. I don't think that's naturally occurring at all. It has something white on top. I'm going to zoom back out. It's not as pixelated. So we've got a column here with a white circle, and we've got a thinner one right here with a bigger white circle. Almost looks like a bowl shape on top of that. And that's not naturally occurring. I mean, it's there for some purpose. Now, what it is, I don't know. My theory is that this is some kind of a ancient structure. Pre-mankind in the United States, pre-Native Americans, maybe pre-human beings. I don't know. So that's the first thing. Then there's something here as well, and I don't know for sure what it is, but that looks out of place to me. So those are the first things I wanted to point out. And I've got a lot we're going to look at, so we're just going to slide down to the next layer of this. And I see all kinds of green things here that don't look like trees. This is the only one that's really shaped like a tree to me. This is grayish, and it's kind of unusual. If you look at it, you may see something in that shape. And I'll just leave that to you. So there's a dark color right here with two things, one there and one there. And then there's a gray color right here with two things, one there and one there, and a black thing right there. And then you can see something jetting out. When you see these shadow areas, think about them. Are they normal shadows, or should they be there at all? And a lot of these should be there. So we're going to look at a lot of these. This one was kind of interesting to me. I'm going to zoom in on that so you can look at that. Look at this overall shape of this greenish. You see kind of a disc shape right there with white things here and then a black line right here and some kind of a base right here. Again, I'll scroll back out so it's not so pixelated. So you've got a dish, saucer, whatever you want to call it, some white dots in there, and a black line right there. And it seems like we've got a rectangular opening here that this passes out of. So what is it? I don't know. Another little object there, little object there. Again, these don't look normal. I want to zoom in on this one because it was pretty interesting. We've got something right here jutting off the edge. And then we have kind of a semi-arc. Kind of reminds me of satellite dishes. And if you look, kind of transparent, it looks like there's a half circle right here to me. You can tell me what you think it is, but that's what I see there. So again, does not look naturally occurring at all. I mean, it's not. So that's the object I wanted to point out there. And we're kind of looking at this whole wall here. It looks very constructed to me. It does not look, when you see these big blocks, it reminds me so much of Egypt. When you see the massive buildings going on in Egypt, that's what this reminds me of. Like cut stones, stacked up on each other. If you look at this whole layer, a lot of this just looks too uniform to be. Look at that sharp edge right there, for example. And look at this one with this little undercut here. It just does not look naturally occurring at all. I'm going to scoot back so you can see it a little better. So this is another thing that caught my attention. Does not look like it should be there, and I don't know what it is, but I see two things right there and right there. And perhaps facing this direction, out this way. Then I see something right here. Just will point out, I see a circle here and a circle there. So I'm going to leave those up to y'all to decide what you think they are. I have my thoughts. I'll let you get your own, formulate your own. We're going to zoom back out so we can now see it a little clearer. This one right here, if you see, there's two very clear things right there and there. I'll zoom in so you can see that a little better. Do you see them? One right there and one right there. So that's kind of interesting. Now we're going to kind of jump down. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. This one caught my eye. Circle there, circle there. Really interesting, odd. What is that right there? Someone tell me what you think that is. I mean, zoom back out so you see it a little clearer. Doesn't fit at all with the rest of this stuff, does it? That just seems so strange to me. And there's other ones, like that right there. If you zoom in, got a dot and a dot. Seems odd to me, doesn't it to you? Okay, so let's go back to this front that we were kind of looking at earlier. So we've got that unusual carving right there, and then as we work on down and around, there's a lot of things here that I guess you could call them trees, but those trees have unique shapes. Look at that one, for example. I thought that was really good. So if this is just a tree, I'll zoom back out. You see that green right there? Why would a tree have a domed top and then a square side to it? Look at that. It's colored like a tree, and at a distance it may look like a tree, but when you zoom in, that doesn't look like a tree to me, does it to y'all? It looks like something else. So strange. Kind of working our way around. This was an odd object, but I don't know what it is. And I thought this one was odd too, shape-wise. I like this one with the big arch. If I were making a citadel on a hill, these arches like that are very common when we look at other ones. But the one thing that you'd say is if this is a retaining wall, you'd need to find a gate. So let's zoom back out and look at this better. Oh wow, look at all of this traffic right here. Look at all this wear on the dirt. See right there? And you see it right here too. So this looks like traffic areas. And then you wonder if this big double wall section right here, does it have an opening on it? Well, some of these arches could be openings for sure. But look at this big open section right here where all this wear is on the dirt. You've got an opening here where there's no retaining wall. And you've got all this wear pattern. And then you've got this big, massive opening. Unfortunately, we can't see what's in there because of this shadow or this black area. But it certainly looks like a wide open area to go into whatever this is. So I just wanted to point that out. And the same here. And if you look at the wear, it looks like the wear from this one goes through this, again, this opening in the retaining wall. And then I'm not sure, maybe it goes in this dark area right here in the corner. I noticed another dark area right here. It looks like maybe an opening. So just interesting. But I want to kind of wrap up this section by looking at this bottom retaining wall. Again, look at all these green things. I'm not going to point out every single one, but almost all of them have odd features. This is a good one. I liked this one. In theory, at first glance, you think that's just a tree. But if you look at it, you see some strange shapes for a tree. What is this black here? And what is this line right here? Doesn't seem to be anything supporting a shadow there, and yet you got this dark thing here, and then you got something kind of obfuscated right there, but you got a black right there, and then you got stuff up here covered in this green. Does that look like a tree? Honestly, doesn't to me. So back to this final thing that I wanted to kind of point out is as you're looking at these trees, I'm not going to dwell on each one of them, but I do want to give you a chance to look at them all. So we'll just kind of go through this last section here. Look at each one of these trees. You can freeze the frame here and study this on your own. You'll see some trends. That's a good one there. Interesting. Does not look like a tree. So what is that? It's green like a tree. Doesn't look like a tree at all. This one right here doesn't look like a tree at all. Does it? That one kind of looks like a tree. That one kind of looks like a tree. This, yeah, interesting. Again, this is another one that I thought was really fascinating. I see 2 dots there, 2 dots here, and 2 dots here. So 3 sets of 2 circles. And then this big, and then one more right here. They see the dark circles right here and right here with something sticking out right there. So what are all these things? Just very strange shapes for a tree, quote unquote. That's odd to me. And this one was really interesting too, because you look at this white object right here with the 2 dots kind of stuff right there, and then something going down from it, and it's all kind of blurred by this greenery. Is that a tree? Is that a white tree growing out of a green tree? I don't know. Here's another one, kind of interesting. I see the two dots right there, and then this greenery. So I know we're running along on this, and I don't want to make any of these more than 10 or 15 minutes long, but I do want to wrap up with this because it was kind of an interesting little study that I found. I wanted to mention that one. Look right here. See if you see something right there. Look at, kind of focus on this area right here. Look at that, look at that, look at this, and look at this. I'm going to zoom back out, and it'll help you see it, maybe. Do you see anything right there? I do. So, some very interesting things here. I want to finish up with this because I see 3, maybe 4 objects right here. I see one here, and one here. And the middle one is the clearest to me. So if you look at this shape right here, you have to kind of stare at it for a minute. Do you see something coming out to you? I see a black thing here, black thing, 2 little black things, and then a slit right here. And the slit kind of protrudes. You got an upper and a lower slit, if that gives you any hint, and a high cheekbone, whatever you want to call that. And then big long thing. If this were a face, this would be kind of where an ear is, but look how long that is. And then this little question mark looking thing up here with a circle on the top of what might be a forehead if this were a face. And I'm not saying it is, but it certainly, when you look at this one, I see a shape. And you look at this one, it's a really interesting shape. And then this one over here is another shape. You really have to ask yourself, what are these things? And if you notice, each one of them has something black because the normal kind of touristy area to take pictures at Grand Cayman would be angled from over here viewing it. So it'd be looking at this structure from over here. I had to hike to a different area to get this picture away from the guardrails and all the touristy locations. So if you're looking in this direction, I think all 3 of these, and there's a little one right here, by the way. So we got 4 of them, 3 big ones and a smaller one right there. But if you look from the standard tourist location, all you would probably see is this black stuff right here. All 3 of these have something black, and it doesn't look like a shadow at all. It just looks almost like a screen or something. But then the angle I'm at, you get to view what's behind the screen, and we've got these 3 big objects. And just kind of throwing out some thoughts here. This one kind of looks like a humanoid face. This one to me kind of reminded me of maybe a rhinoceros. Looked like a horn right there. Maybe a broken off horn right there. This one kind of looked like I don't know, kind of has a nose like a pig, but the face looks more like a female lion or something. And then this one right here, I don't know what it is. It's really so blurred, I didn't get a good look at it, so we really can't see that one. But what are those strange things? Look at all the rest of it. You just got these walls, but then you've got these 3 things kind of right by where the walking area would be. I wonder what their significance is. And even at a distance, don't these look like unusual shapes to y'all? So, all right, so it's been about 18 minutes or 19 minutes. I'm going to wrap up. This is Matt at UFOs Above Us doing a new series about the Grand Canyon. I'd welcome your comments, and I will be doing many more of these. I've got dozens of pictures to share, and everywhere I look, if you look close enough, you can find something unusual or unique. So keep watching those skies and share your results.